Hello and welcome to Tuesday night's Piston Talk. Piston Talking episode 2 with Mark from Mark on Motors.
Now then, how do?
He's got a cup of tea already and he's totally not advertising Rob's channel. Very inconsequential. I'll advertise boilers. Here you go. You can buy Valiant boilers. There you go. And so welcome to the second episode of this. And I hope Mark saw the first episode and is prepared to play cock or chicken.
I'm also a bit concerned actually because you brought me on after Alex, and it's like, how am I supposed to?
This is true.
I mean, last time I did something like this, our next guest they had on after having JM. It seems to be a bit of a trend, really.
This is yes, it is a worrying trend. Alex was quite a good guest, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Don't worry though, we're not playing cock or chicken.
Yeah.
We have got another game lined up for you though that I've not told you about.
Oh right, okay.
It's of a similar style, but not rude.
Right.
I would like people in the comments to tell us if you can hear us all right as well, because it's the first time I've used a 2 mic setup, and it should be all right. I can't see why it won't be all right. So the first thing that we normally do on these, Mark, is if I can find my video that I've hidden somewhere. Oh, I'm not prepared this bit, have I? Here we go.
Who are you? Who are you, our kid? Who are you?
So, who are you?
So for those of you that were expecting somebody a bit more like Alex, who have no idea who I am. So by day I'm a truck driver, also a former senior observer with Institute of Advanced Motorists, so I had a passion for cars and driving for quite a while. During the pandemic, I packed up doing martial arts because you can't really do that successfully from 2 meters away.
Unless you've got really long arms.
And most people in pandemic started a YouTube channel, but not me. I waited until everyone went back to work and nobody were watching anymore. But yeah, really, it all started with a car.
Yes.
Because I was sat watching other people on YouTube having fun with cars I'd very much like to own, and found myself browsing through Marketplace on a night time, which is pretty fatal.
Yes.
And I saw this yellow Megane coupe, and my dad had one brand new back in the day, and I'd always wanted one. And by the time I was really old enough to have one, they were a bit old, and
yeah,
they were old enough to probably not be as much interest for a daily car.
Yeah,
but not old enough to be interesting to most people.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's still not interesting enough for most people. But
it's like the peak time to buy, isn't it? Because normal people's interests are low.
Yeah.
But the enthusiast's interest hasn't peaked yet either. So yeah, we're in a good place then.
So yeah, I dropped on this car for the right money. Obviously, it needed a bit doing to it. I spent 6 months trying to get it back on road.
Right.
Made some pretty shocking YouTube videos as well along the way. But yeah, I just sort of fell into this. I thought I'll do a few videos on car, do a few videos on going to some car shows.
Yeah. I
quickly realised that everybody at these car shows are walking around with a phone, basically copying Josie Floyd.
He's the pinnacle of walking around car shows.
Well, yeah, when it comes to doing car shows just with a mobile phone, I think it's his knowledge, because it can read a number plate on any vehicle and tell you where that car was registered from memory, without having to go online and Google it. So it's pretty hard to follow that.
It is.
So
I mean, going on that number plate thing, when I were a kid, I'm pretty sure you'll remember these as well. I had a David Bellamy spot number plates book. It was a tiny little pamphlet booklet, and it just listed number plate, like letter prefixes and where they were registered. But David Bellamy What's this? Like some sort of weird tie-in.
Yeah.
Like if it were mushrooms, I couldn't understand why it were David Bellamy, but
Yeah.
car registration numbers.
Well, I suppose if it keeps the Reddies coming.
Well, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously I quickly progressed to shows, but I thought I've got to change up this format a bit. And then the sort of car show owner interviews was born out of that. Then people offered me some cars to review, so I thought, why not? And it's just sort of gone from there, really.
See, that's the one thing I like about it. Well, not the one thing. That is one thing, not the one thing I like about your videos, is that you speak to the people and not just look at the cars. And that's something that I'm trying to do, but I always feel a bit nervous about approaching people. How do you get over that bit? What was your secret?
I don't know. I just ask them, and some don't want to. A lot of time, you'll get people that are like, "Oh no, I don't know about that, but my partner will do it." There's plenty of partners willing to throw their other ass on the bus. But no, I just say, people like talking about the cars, and once you get them to forget the camera, and just tell you about the car, most people are pretty good. In fact, one guy I had, I got a great story. I always remember this particular one. Because I always say that an owner can tell you things about the car you won't know, whether that be mechanical things because they've pretty much rebuilt it, or just the experience they've had owning one. And this particular guy had an Alfa Romeo SZ, Zagato, which is a pretty rare car. But he'd actually owned another one in period. Right. And he was telling me about how his wife used to go shopping in it. And he'd gone to Italy to this event, and the police had pulled him over, and he's thinking that he were in bother. And all it was is mad Italian police, this godlike Italian car. They just wanted to have a look at it, told them where they were going, and they gave him a police escort. I mean, walking around looking at a car and saying this is an Alfa Romeo doesn't give you any of that.
No,
there's obviously more there. You've just got to dig a bit deeper.
So it is kind of an advantage that to push that. Basically, what you're trying to tell me is man up.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not saying it'll lead to any success though, because when I go to a show, I obviously do a lot of. Obviously, I film me talking about the cars or talking with people about cars, but obviously, ultimately, it's the cars people want to see. So I shoot a lot of B-roll footage. Obviously, inside the cars, around the vehicles, cars arriving. But there's, it's putting all that together. So the process of editing can take days. By which point the buzz around that event has died down, and people have already seen a dozen other videos, so they don't watch mine. So if you want to know how to do YouTube and people make really positive comments on it, but have really, really slow growth, then follow the Mark on Motoring model of how to do YouTube. If you want to grow quickly, and you're not fortunate enough to be an attractive young lady or somebody who's famous to start with, then the way seems to be just spam YouTube with as many videos as you can.
Which is not my way of doing things either. And that's one of the trademarks I've noticed from your videos, at least the recent ones, is the cinematic intros. Yeah,
the problem is I can obsess. I can spend half a day doing a 2-minute intro, and it's not great from a YouTube productivity side of things. It's not good. But I want to think that people could drop on one of my videos in 6 months or 12 months down the line and get the same value out of that video as they would do at the time. But you're always going to get those people that are literally just going to click on a video and flick through it trying to find their car on the day. Even though the car's outside and they can look at it any time they want. what we tend to do is, as car enthusiasts, we go to an event and then we come home and look for our car on the video.
But I do that, but I must admit I do that on every video of Joseph's. That if I've seen Joseph there, right, I'm going to find my car in the 14 hours of footage that Joseph has filmed. Because I just want to know what he said about it.
And because he's filmed every single car, even out of 14 hours, it equates to mere seconds on each vehicle. So you're going through all this footage just for that, really. But Well, no, I mean, it's good. It's even, such as with Joseph's, it's worth putting in the time and watching, because you'll pick up knowledge that you otherwise wouldn't have had. So, if you are into cars and you do want to broaden your horizons,
it's a good a good way of learning stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning as I go along. Obviously, we all have. I know you like your MG Rover stuff. We all have as own backgrounds, but I'm still learning. I've expanded into cars that are a bit older. I grew up with 80s and 90s cars, but I've been learning about cars from decades before that. You know, and sometimes you come across things that you didn't know you liked, you know.
Yeah. It's like, to me, that's kind of like 50s stuff.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, there's not that much of it about. It used to be when I were a lad and I went to car shows with my dad in a Ford Pop, a 1953 Ford Pop. There were tons of them. There were always at least 7 Ford Pops that were there. Nowadays, if you see one, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Unless the Ford Popular Club are there, in which case there should be more than one.
I mean, I even went to a French car event and I found Delage, which was I'd never seen one before.
No.
You know, so there are brands that are obscure even within your own realm of. But I mean, I know, for example, obviously I can see we've got Alex on. Now, Alex has got a Rover P4. Well, my grandfather had SD3s and R8s and HHR, but you know, things like SD1 V8s and P6s and P5Bs. You know, for years, when you could get a P5 with rusty back doors for $5,000, I was genuinely interested. But the P4 always just seemed a little bit too far back.
Yeah.
And then I went to a Rover themed event a year or two back, and I got to sit in a P4.
Yeah.
And
now you want one.
Yeah.
So I'm going the opposite way. Like, yeah, I've done loads of early 2000s, late 90s Rover stuff, but I want to do JDM now. I went to a JDM thing at Great British Car Journey, and it was like I'd found my brethren. There were so many cars there that were covered in stickers and nonsense that I'm like, I can't do stickers and nonsense on a Rover because all the Rover people are like, why the hell have you stuck stickers all over that?
I do like the what's the name of it now? There's a youth motorist car.
Oh,
Young Retro Motor Club.
That's it.
And they do a sticker that looks like a Rover sticker, but it says you've been Rover taken. And it makes you want to buy a Rover just so you can have that sticker.
Yeah, there's still a few of them, aren't there? Somebody showed me one that were a British Leyland thing. I think it said something like British and Leaky or something. I can't remember exactly what it said. It was like something funny like that. Let's have a look what we've got chat-wise. Let's see who's in the chat. Now we've given them precisely 13 minutes to wake up. Wake up! Right, so we've had Juju or Judge or Julie. She goes by many names.
Oh, right, okay.
The fourth name is something that Alex calls her, which I'll see if she's said it later. Julie says, hello to everyone who's here early, on time or late. And she said that at 6:45. That's just before you arrived.
Yeah. And Alex is looking forward to seeing us. That's nice.
It is, isn't it? Although she didn't stipulate that it's us. It could be anybody called Mark, Simon and Tony.
That is true.
Knowing Alex, that's probably some obscure 70s folk band. They called the Parsleys. Disinterested car girl.
Oh, hi, Emma.
That's Emma Lemon, is it?
It is.
In fact, I can show you this tactic. Ting, you press show. There you go. I'm familiar with / subscribe to Mark on Motoring through Bote. So I'm popping in here to be very nosy. Good evening, all.
You'll be as nosy as you like, Emma.
And then Alex says, yes, I'm being nosy too. And apparently Alex met you at Rustyville.
She did, yeah, and she bought the P4 as well.
Yes, Jessie.
Which I had a good nosy at.
Did she mention Jessie's muff?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Maybe that's just a crankcases thing.
I think that's something I might remember as well.
Oh, there's many a muff video on crankcases. Simon Easton, who's a lovely chap with a nice dolomite. It's a nice coloured dolomite. You know, that blue
right.
That's like, it's not just blue, it's like blue!
Oh, yes, I think I know the blue you mean, yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, a normal dolomite or a sprint dolomite? Don't matter.
That's a very good question. I can't remember.
Yeah. Either way, they're all quite cool these days.
Yeah, they are.
It's a staple of 70s Britain, really, isn't it?
Yes. If it goes click when you press the button on the door to open it, that's a good car. Because there was a point, weren't there? You stopped having buttons to open car doors. You just had levers. That's when things started going downhill. And now we've got cars that don't have handles at all.
Yeah, worrying, isn't it?
He says, I've not subscribed to Mark, so I'm interested to hear more. Hello there. Why are you not subscribed? You should be subscribed by now. This was half an hour ago.
But obviously, when we're done here, by all means, go over, have a look.
Mm.
Got plenty of car shows, some car reviews and things, so see if there's anything you like. And we've also got channel memberships now as well.
Oh,
which is quite a recent thing.
I'll share your thing. There you go. That's your channel.
That's mine.
And there's your description. This is all about Mark on Motoring's YouTube channel.
Yeah,
so go and check it out.
That probably needs updating.
Go and check it out when he's updated it.
No, I think it has had a bit of an update, but a while ago. Yeah, that's my exclusive member content. So, some of it's exclusive, some of it is early release. So if you want to see me going nuts down a runway in a Corvette, become a channel member and see it before everyone else.
33 minutes and 9 seconds of pure insanity. That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
So there you go. So you know what the logo looks like. You've got no excuses. If that number's not bigger by this time tomorrow, I'm going to be very angry. I'm not going to be angry, really. I don't do angry. But only if Simon doesn't subscribe. If Simon hadn't subscribed by tomorrow, I will be angry.
Send around a hit squad.
Yeah, he's letting the Simons down.
Yeah. This is Simon. This is a Simon with a blue dolomite, is it?
It is.
Yeah. So we'll see if we see a blue dolomite, we know where he lives.
Yes. Yeah. He also did you see my live yesterday?
No, I didn't know.
Simon confessed to having pinched his wife's dinner. Sorry. So I made him a little jingle. Here we go.
Dinner thief! Dinner thief! Dinner thief! He's off! Dinner thief!
Yes, we're not going to let him forget that.
What we need to know is it a manly dinner though, or is it a salad?
It was cauliflower burgers that he pinched. So it's a bit in between.
Yeah.
Because it's manly because it's a burger.
I'd have just took the burger out.
No, I mean, it was like cauliflower burgers. You were pleased to hear I prepared the meal and have eaten the portion assigned to me. Well done, Simon. Well done. And somebody's call him two dinners Tim. Oh dear. Right, I did prepare some questions, but we'll get down these a bit more first. Any comments jumping out at you? I did ask for people to come up with some questions to ask you themselves.
Yeah, obviously there's a few familiar names and there's a few that I don't know. Yeah, obviously we've got a Stickman. I noticed that name came up a lot in your live stream with Alex.
Yeah, I think you have met Stickman.
Have I met Stickman before?
When you were at Lock Park and there's the really tall guy with a stick.
Oh, the one that I said were giving me Gandalf vibes.
That's him.
He had a big staff and a big beard.
That's him.
Right, okay.
So it's Matt.
Oh, hi, Matt.
And Stephen Simon says, I wonder if there will be a Renault 16 at the show on Saturday. I have not seen one for ages because Simon's going to be at Festival of Unexceptional as well.
Possibly. There was a green one there last year. 16's an interesting car, actually. Like a few Renaults of that era, it's got the claim to fame of having a different length wheelbase on either side of the car.
What?
Yeah, Renault 4 was another one. Reason being, it was the design of the rear suspension, so they've got really long travel. So I've got this pivot point that's almost at the other side of the car. So the consequence of that is one suspension arm set behind the other. So it means on one side of the car you get a longer wheelbase. But if you were to try and reverse with the handbrake on, the car rises about a foot in the air.
Jeebus.
Yeah.
That's mental. Why did they design it like that?
Don't know, but Renault had some interesting quirks, actually. It's like with the, I think the 16's also technically front mid-engined because the gearbox is, like with the Renault 4s, the gearbox is in front.
Oh, like is it the Audi as well? Or there is an Audi where gearbox is further forward, isn't
I don't know. A lot of the Audis, they used to actually swing the engine way out front, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, it might be the other way around.
But yeah, if ever I think the reason that a lot of it came about, like with the Renault 4, is because they took the basic engine from the 4CV, which were rear-engined.
Right.
So you had an engine slung out the back with a gearbox in front in line with the rear wheels.
Yeah.
So they just kind of moved it forward.
Yeah. Which is like my mate. I say my mate, I've only met him 3 times, called Mick. He was at Lock Park. You might have seen his car. It was a red BSA. It looks like an MGA thing, like an old-fashioned thing with wings on it and stuff, like 30s probably. But it was front-wheel drive, and it was apparently, I think he said it was the first production front-wheel drive sports car.
Oh, right.
And it's weird because you've got the engines like so close to the bulkhead, like the seating area is really cramped. And then you've got the gearbox and differ in front of that, and then the power goes to the front wheel, so the engine's like really far back from front.
Yeah.
I need to go and drive it. He keeps asking me to do a video on it. But I need to figure out what it is I'm going to say about it. The Tony Fan Club of Botswana.
Cool name.
Tony's up there, by the way. He's just sat there. Says, we can't wait for Tony being interviewed. Well, he doesn't say anything, does he? It won't be very exciting. Matt says, hopefully everyone is fine and dandy. Now, I'm going to have to ask you now, Matt, you're going to have to prepare yourself for a Mattism. Because you'll find, once you read through these comments enough, Matt says something, and then his next comment is the punchline to the first thing that he said.
Yeah. And if you get a lot of people on, it'll be way downstream, so we'll have forgot what the first
you have to remember what it is. So, hopefully everyone is fine and dandy, although I read Beano, I've never heard of fine. Dandy was cool too. There we go. And Ivor Howard is a young, a lovely person that joins every so often when they're not working. He says, night off, working, no deliveries of pizza till tomorrow. I picture that in an anonymous voice.
Well, hopefully someone else is at work so that people are getting fed.
The people do get their pizzas. Please should say that. And Rob's here from Beards and Bangers.
Hi, Rob.
Do you know what happens every time Rob appears?
Oh, I've got a feeling I know what's coming next.
Well, hello there.
Hi, Rob. Hope you are well. Rob's been to Wales today and come back. So it can't have been that exciting.
Didn't you like it?
He kind of liked it at all.
North or south, Rob?
I'm trying to think which one it would have been. I bet it was south, I bet.
Yeah. But it's strange. I haven't been to Wales for a while, but I've been a couple of times years ago to North Wales. But I used to quite regularly go South Wales in truck. Used to collect out of a steel mill down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that near Swansea then?
Actually near Cardiff, that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the places that we can pronounce in English.
Yeah, I'm going to say there's not that many, is it? Abergavenny.
Mm.
But that don't look like it says Abergavenny from memory.
Yeah, it was that time when Duffy were really big in charts, and every time you went over at Severn Crossing, suddenly on the radio it was just Duffy and Tom Jones. And that's all you heard.
I got reminded because there's another one, isn't there? There's Kerris Matthews.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and I got reminded that Tom Jones and the Cardigans did a song together as well.
They used to say, was it Duffy or Kerris Matthews? They used to say, "Well, the legitimate love child of Tom Jones and Shirley Bassey."
That sounds like a Kerris Matthews thing.
Yeah, actually, Kerris Matthews are one of the few people because a lot of people they talk with an accent, but when they sing, the accent disappears.
But Kerris Matthews has the accent all the time.
All the time, yeah.
That's what we like about her.
Yeah, since she's still got road rage.
I don't know. You have to ask Mulder and Scully. Oh dear. Right, let's have a look.
What have we got?
We've got Dick Dastardly. He says, "Good evening to all you Tizer drinkers."
Ooh.
I think what he's trying to make me do is put the Tizer advert on, but it goes on for about 50 seconds, so I'm not doing so. Hi, Dick.
Oh, when we need to go to the toilet and have a drink, we'll save that one.
And then I was talking to Alex, so I don't know why I clicked that. Has Mark got any silly props with him? says Simon.
I would say these glasses, but I need them for reading comments.
I've got some.
No, I haven't got any glasses with an elongated nose attached, for example.
I had some glasses. I don't know where I've put them.
See, Alex has set the bar high now.
There they are.
Oh, very good. Oh, these ones.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at them.
Perfect.
I definitely can't read comments for those.
And then we've just got. See, this is another thing when you're doing lives. 25 minutes later, you get back to the bit where you said, "Can everybody hear us? All right." I can hear you, says Matt. I've got this amazing feature on my phone called the volume button.
It's just as well. Can you imagine getting this far in and it said, "Oh, we can't hear you"?
Yeah, exactly. Or like the other day when I forgot to click the add to stream, so I was talking for 2 minutes with no picture, so people could hear me. There was just no picture. Come on, let's see if there's any questions down here. Come on, people, put some questions in. Oh, that's a question. Where's Tony? He's there. Hello. He looks shocked as always. Rob says, I like and agree with Mark's theory of laying down content for long-term viewing. I think there's a lot of obsession over getting thousands of views within hours.
Definitely.
I'm obsessed with it.
God, my son uploaded a video from some concert thing he went to other week.
Oh, yeah.
And it's done like tens of thousands of views.
Really?
Like, literally, he goes to sleep and then wakes up and it's like another tens of thousands of views again. Thought, if I could figure out how to do that.
But with cars.
This time next year, I could be a millionaire in pesos.
Peso. I think what I'm going to do is go, is this Taylor Swift's car? And then do my normal car video. And then at the end go, no, it's not. That's it.
Got another familiar name actually here.
Another
Lot 76. We've got Simon at Lot 76.
Too many Simons. That's 3 Simons. Don't cross the Simons, otherwise the universe and everything explodes.
Simon's another. I always say nobody can do Josie Floyd like Josie Floyd, but Simon's probably Simon's worked in industry for years.
Has he?
And I always think his videos or shows are somewhere between mine and Joseph's because he puts a little bit more time. It's, for example, where Joseph will insist on not using any external microphone on principle.
Yes, yes. Principles is a big thing for Joseph.
Simon's gone a little bit beyond that, but he still doesn't go full-on cinematic.
Yes.
But he's got that knowledge.
Yes.
Where he can, most cars he can tell you quite a lot of information about.
So I did see Simon the other day at Gaydon, but it was too fast for me to keep up with him when I was filming.
Well, anyone that wants to see Simon,
Which
festival. Anyone that wants to see Simon at Lot 76, Simon will be exhibiting his Mercedes 190E, which I've reviewed on the channel a while ago. That car's in the Concours at Photo.
Oh, I shall catch up with him then.
So if you see a grey Mercedes 190E, that's Simon's car.
Is the 190 that kind of shape?
Yeah, it is pretty much that kind of shape.
My favourite Mercedes, it's a very nice one. Here's a question for Simon, actually. Do you record your speaking while you're recording the footage, or do you do voiceovers? There you go. There's a question. Alex's assets. It takes me, I assume that should be me, not we, unless she is the royal we, because she is always having a pee break. It takes me weeks to edit my videos, and those that take me a day to edit get better views. So basically, the outcome of that is put as little effort in as possible because people don't care about the effort. They just want to see things now.
I think it depends on the content, doesn't it? Like I said, if you're doing shows, you're in this trap where it's trying to get them out quickly. If you're filming tinkering in your garage, for example, or a car review, it's a little bit less time sensitive.
That's true.
Which really I could do to be moving towards more of that sort of stuff. But unfortunately, tinkering in a garage is a luxury I don't have when I've got to work on my driveway. And plus, when it did earlier this year, it did take me like nearly a week to do a heater matrix.
All right, okay.
Although in my defence, for a Renault Master Tech, it would listed as something like an 7 or 8 hour job.
Okay, yeah, I can see why. Then.
Yeah.
Is it a dashboard out job then?
Dashboards, half at scuttle, strut brace, wipers, blow a motor.
Was it leaking?
No, it just weren't working.
I'd have just left
But the thing
it.
is, after 3 years, I've now got heat.
Right.
But the problem is the distribution box doesn't seem to be playing ball. So now I've got heat, but only where it wants to disperse it.
Okay. I had the opposite problem with the ZS. My ZS was constant heat all the time. I couldn't turn it off.
Well, that's no good.
But then I stuck my head under the footwell and I noticed there was a connecting rod missing off a valve. So I just clipped it back on and now it works. And apparently it's got the same heater control as a Pagani Zonda.
Right.
There you go.
It's interesting, actually. You could do a
fast.
full show on what parts on exotic cars came from, like TVRs with Cavalier lights and XJ220s with Rover R8 lights and things like that.
And Noble M12 that's got Mondeo rear lights, hasn't it?
Probably the engine as well, I think.
Probably,
I think it was a Mondeo
Oh, yeah,
engine.
it was, weren't it?
Yeah, and what's the other? Oh, the other one I had the other week, Nissan 300 ZX.
Mm.
The headlamps ended up on the Diablo when they went from pop-ups.
MG
SV.
Yeah, it's got Fiat Punto
lights. Yeah, but we couldn't not mention that one on the
because they
channel that's quite MG Rover-centric.
Yeah, and they are really nice lights anyway, then, to be honest.
Yeah, and then Fiat went and changed Punto and put lights on that are
Pants.
quite rubbish by comparison, yeah. I was going to say something else then, but...
we are hoping for a glimpse of Tony. Well, you've just had that, so there you go.
Just in case anybody missed it.
Tony
Hello.
Cam. Maybe I need to figure out how to put 2 cameras on at the same time and just have like Tony Cam. If I'm not mistaken, says Ujudge, Jule, Juju, or whatever. That's a 4th name. The cats haven't even said hello. Rude fluffies.
I have already passed one pussy on the stairs.
I'm sorry about that. I'll keep out your way next time. Oh, Becky Evans is here and she's on YouTube this time, which confused me because it's a different profile picture. Evening, Becky. Glad you could join us on YouTube.
Oh, look, and Dick Dastardly says I seem like a very nice chap. Well, thank you very much.
It can be deceiving, can't it, these YouTube lives? I said yesterday I wanted some beardless people to look at, and here we are.
Yeah, I just shaved this morning.
Me too. It grows so fast. Has Mark got crumpet reviews? Does your channel have crumpet reviews?
I don't know. What they take my channel down for that kind of thing?
It depends how you review it.
Maybe something to think about if I get desperate.
Yes.
If I decide that I want to be a successful YouTuber with lots of views. Oh, look up right on cue, look.
Hello.
It's looking at me. I'm not going to touch it because it's probably...
He's all right.
Yeah, there's a cat just walked in.
It's Jack, everybody. Jack needs his own theme tune.
Yeah, you need to get a cat. Actually, my little girl might be watching just for cat, you know. No, it's running away.
He's not fussed. Go on then, bugger off.
Yeah, when a cat shows you its bumhole, it's definitely telling you.
Oh, I wonder when I could put tea towel. Right, okay, Jack. It's not your stream. Get your own channel. Now where do we go? Oh, I was on your site, so I assume he's a subscriber now.
Possibly.
Question for Mark from Rob. Do Renault suffer from lack of appeal? And if not, why not?
It's funny you should mention that because the car that I've had for the past 3.5 years or so that I've been saying all along could do with repainting, that I got quoted 10 times what I paid for the car to have done, is now starting to suffer lack appeal quite badly. But strangely enough, I thought it'll develop from where the paint gets stone chips and then moisture will get under. No, it just seems to be blistering from within.
All right. Okay.
And then the it goes kind of a bit white on top, and then the lacquer just sort of, you just tap it and it
just
crumbles
away.
And flakes away, yeah.
Sounds like a rover. Sounds like a rover.
So yeah, that's something I do need to try and address, but I'll end up a bit like that SD3 on Father Ted, where he got the little dent, and he went to tap a few dints out, and then several hours later, the whole car were just like crumpled.
No, we can't give that away as a prize. Where's he going? Is he gone? Bye. Jack can. Simon says, we had a Renault. It suffered from rust.
Yeah, mine's suffering a bit of that as well. Everyone keeps saying how tidy mine looks, but when you get it's a 10-foot car.
Yes.
Yeah.
All my cars are 10-foot.
It's really original. I mean, it's got the original special edition carpet mats in it.
Ooh.
And things, there are a lot of good points, but there were a few. It's like I've changed up whenever anything's needed doing mechanically, I've kind of done it.
Yeah.
But it's just the thing hanging over is the bodywork, and when you can't afford to pay someone and you haven't got a space to attempt to do it yourself.
I know what you mean.
Painting a car in a gazebo on driveways, not ideal.
It's doable, but you need to know what you're doing first to be able to avoid the pitfalls.
Yeah.
Or you just pay someone else to do it. Renault 30 TS was the best.
That was the V6, the 30. Yeah, Renault, basically for anyone that doesn't know Renaults of that era, the 20 and the 30, the body shell was pretty much the same car, but the one was a 4-cylinder and one was the 6-cylinder model.
So instead of just calling it a Renault 20 V6, they give it a different model name.
Yeah, and then both models were replaced. Well, basically we got the 21 and the 25 that came after that.
Right. Blooming heck, Renault. Sounds nearly as complicated as Mercedes for stuff like that. Gandalf vibes, Lord of the Rings After Dark episodes.
But honestly, yeah, when you see a 6 foot, how tall?
Oh, I don't know. He's definitely taller
tall.
than Bote.
Oh yeah, it made me feel like a hobbit. In comparison. But yeah, when you see someone 6 foot odd with a long grey beard and a staff.
Well, he didn't have his hat on either, did he, this time?
Oh, right.
Yes, the gearbox is at the front with a column change on a 16.
Mm.
South Wales, Abergavenny, very picturesque, but not when one has problems to solve for work. Goddamn work!
Yeah, whenever I went to Wales for work, I never saw anything picturesque. Basically, a traveller site and a steel mill, and that was about it.
Good evening, chaps, says Jim Bob's Garage.
Well, hello there.
Which is how Rob would say it. What cars do you own, Mark, and which ones have you stolen off other people? I think that's what she's insinuating there.
Well,
isn't it,
sadly,
Alex?
not many on both counts. But, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of space at home. The side, my house was built in 1930s, so there's a footpath that runs down the side, but it's not wide enough to get a car down. So I've basically converted my front garden to accommodate cars.
Yeah.
So we've got his and hers daily drives, and then
Are they both French?
I've got 3 Renaults.
Okay.
Yeah. we did actually have 2 Fiat 500s.
Okay.
For quite a while, up until maybe a year or so ago, a couple of years ago. But the one we had 2 Fiat 500 Twin Airs, and mine was a Twin Air 105, which they didn't produce very long. But I know of 2 now that have kind of self-destructed. The 85 horsepower one were fine.
Yeah.
But mine suffered with a dual mass flywheel problem.
Okay.
Which even Fiat didn't want to touch.
Okay.
And someone else I know more recently has got rid of one because the garage couldn't fathom what was wrong with it.
What's the Twin Air?
So the Twin Air was the...
So it wasn't a twin cylinder, were it?
Yeah.
Ah,
so it was an 875cc 2-cylinder. Aluminium engine of about 80 odd kilos engine in them. The whole car were like 940 kilos. But they produced a lot of quite a lot. They're about 140 newton meters of torque because it was a light pressure turbo.
Yeah.
And the as I said, the first ones were 85 horsepower, and my wife had a 2011 model.
Okay.
And they had a 5-speed gearbox. I got the 105, which was a 2014 model, and as I said, they didn't produce them very long, but they had a close ratio 6-speed gearbox.
Okay.
And the gearbox actually sort of protruded out of the engine bay into the wheel arch, and there was a brace that went from the body of the car down to the subframe. Okay. And because the gearbox protruded, rather than engineering a bracket to fit around it, Fiat just binned it.
Just got rid of it.
But what was really strange is when I first got the car, I thought, well, hang on, how come 6th gear in that one is the same as 5th gear in the other?
Yeah,
so at 70 mile an hour, the engine speed was the same.
Yeah.
But it made the car so much more drivable because in town, in 4th gear at 30 mile an hour, it had that flexibility because all the ratios were closer.
Yeah.
And the gearbox made more of a difference than the extra 20 horsepower.
Ah, okay.
And you also got vented discs up front as opposed to solid ones, and you got disc brakes at the rear. And it were a great little car, and the turning circle were great on the Fiat, where the Abarth, the turning circle was shocking.
Got fatter wheels on it.
Yeah, and mine still had 15 185 tyres on.
Okay.
And it was the same size as the Clear Williams or the Peugeot 205 1.9 GTI. So it made for a great car, but it had all this torque between 2,000 and 4,000 RPM. And then the red line was sort of 6,000, but once it got past 5, you could feel it's been strangled, boost dropping off.
Okay.
But it was a great little car, but so that one more or less destroyed itself. And the other one, a young driver not paying attention, ploughed into the back of my wife at a pedestrian crossing and shoved the car into crossing, bent the boot floor and triggered the fuel pump shut off.
Okay.
So
big hit then.
Yeah, on an 11-year-old car, that's an insurance write-off.
Yeah, straight away.
So yeah, now we've got 2 modern Renaults and obviously the 97 Megane Coupe.
Cool. Very French.
Yeah.
Ooh la la.
Well, I did grow up with Renaults, so
Yeah.
I've had quite a few over the years.
Well, that is the thing, because it's like, until you think about it, my dad had obviously Austin Rover stuff mostly. In fact, it was Austin Rover stuff and a Mazda 626.
Right.
So there's where my JDM stuff comes from as
I
well.
always like the look of the ZDOS 6. Remember those?
Yes. Yeah, they were nice, weren't they? They were like rounded.
They looked quite sort of modern and premium at the time, didn't they?
They look like a bit like a Senator, a little bit.
Yeah.
Like a guppy fish version. Simon says, I only ever record as I go now. I didn't used to, but it took way too long. To be honest, I prefer a bit less time pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it also, his audio, the reason why I asked Simon is your audio always sounds really clear and nice. So
yeah, I struggle when I have to narrate over things, trying to get the audio to sound the same.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what it
You've
does
got to
when
do it
you're out.
all or none of it. Or it's got to be a big section and then none of it.
Oh, Mark at Bad Books is here. Evening, Mark.
He says, good evening, all. Like that. That's his voice. Good evening, all. I've still not arranged to go down and test drive his Polo.
Yeah, I saw his Polo, actually. Mark did an interview with me, I think, a few years ago at Photo with the Polo. I've also seen Mark's Unos. That was the first car I saw.
Oh, yeah.
He did offer me that to review, but I think he's quite away from me. And the other problem is that it's an auto, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
He is.
But
That's exactly what he's saying.
The MX-5 is a lot of petrol heads will say you'll not find a finer gearbox in any road car than on an MX-5. So I felt like I'd be doing a disservice to viewers by not testing with a manual gearbox.
Well, my dad's instructed me that when I do go down to test his MX-5, I've got to take the MGTF down so I can do a comparison.
What gen MX-5 has he got?
Mark? It's Mark.
No,
my dad's got MGTF. So he's got a TF. Yeah, so he wants me to take that down to Mark so I can do a side by side.
Right.
Which I don't think will be much of a fair side by side, to be honest.
No, I mean, I know back in the day there was sold as competitors who were both in that sort of lower budget junior sports car, but in other ways very different. I mean, the placement of the engine for a start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so many different factors on there.
Yeah.
Would you like to play a game, Mark? Not in the so kind of way.
Yeah. So this was started when I was watching your live stream with Alex. I thought this is looking very Saturday morning TV. It had everything except the gunge.
Well, funny you should say that. No, there's no gunge. So this will basically tell you what the game's going to be. Renault or Ren-No.
I was down for a full house.
So basically, you will see the name of the car,
Okay.
and you'll have got 10 seconds before the next bit comes on to tell me whether it is a Renault or whether it's not a Renault.
I've got a feeling I'm probably going to be rubbish at this.
I've got a feeling you're not, because I know fake ones in there.
So when you say if it's a Renault, you mean potentially cars that are something else but that are Renault underneath, or just cars that are Renault badged as Renault?
They're all badged as Renault,
Okay.
but they might be badged as Renault in different countries, not necessarily UK.
Ah, okay. This could be interesting.
Right then. I'll turn the mic on so people can hear you guess. Any second now you'll be first. Well, it's difficult. The first one. Go on. The Renault Clio. Is that a Renault?
Yes. Though there is a car, I believe, in Japan that's called a Clio, so they have to call it something else.
The Renault Cardigan.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to edge on the side of no for that one.
I wonder why.
There are a few models that do sound a bit like that, though, in the range these days.
The Renault Megane.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Either that or my car, either that or I've got two cars with the wrong name on the back.
You like the Jaguar?
Yeah, very nice. Yes, the Renault Sandero in, I think, India.
Yes, that surprised me. I thought, that's not a Renault.
They do it with a few of the models, actually. They manufacture Renaults in some of these markets, and they're a bit posher than ours, but not as posh as Again, sounds very similar to a Renault, but I'm going to go with a no. Docker, I'm going to go with yeah, because there's a Dacia Docker. So I imagine there probably is a Renault Docker in some markets.
You know, these onions, as Ernest would say.
Kangoo, yeah. Yep, the Kangoo van also actually was available as a tractor four-wheel drive.
Ooh. Terrible, but we'll try.
Yeah. My last NEC video had one of the Master. No, there was a Renault Master van, but I've never, unless it's a special edition Renault Master van.
There's that big guy off Mad Max.
Who rules by the town? Driver. I've not heard of that one. We'll go with a no. Oh,
you've got one wrong.
Oh no. Laguna, yeah. I've actually owned a Mark II Laguna.
I quite fancy a Laguna and doing like a British touring car conversion.
Yeah, the thing is, we're getting to the point where a lot of Mark I Lagunas are being made to look like touring cars.
Yeah, that's true.
Magnum, yeah. I've never drove one of these. I always wanted to. But yeah, the Magnum was their flagship tractor unit. Initially known as the Renault EU and styled by Angelo Gandini.
You tell me.
I think it may have been. I could be wrong with that. Mason, no, I've not come across that one before.
Let's see.
Be a good name for a commercial model.
It would, wouldn't it? The Renault House.
No, I've not come across that. There was a Fregat in the 50s, 60s, I think.
That's fridge in French.
Renault Fridge. The Renault Nicole, that would be good, wouldn't it? I'm going to say no. Funny, actually, my daughter's middle name is actually Nicole.
Oh.
Nothing to do with being influenced by Renault Clio adverts. The Renault Baguette.
That is, they're missing a trick if that's not a real one.
Yeah, I'm going to say a no.
That sounds like a small van.
Or that is older in the range.
But carries cheese very well.
I can't even pronounce that. Is
It
that some fancy EV? It sounds like a hybrid, doesn't
does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It looks like it should
Yeah,
be
we'll go with no.
Tired.
Yeah, Renault are busy retyping old names at the moment, aren't they?
Which is funny because that's a question I've
I don't
got
know
to
that
ask
one
you.
either. Question, I can see a rant coming on. The wind, yeah, the flatulence really is a Renault. A two-seater roadster based on a Twingo. It's actually the fastest convertible in production now.
Is it?
Yeah, the roof it just flips over.
Right.
Yes, it converts faster than most.
Oh, that kind of fast.
The mascot, that'd be a great name for a small van, wouldn't it?
It would be.
But no, I don't think that one's correct.
I can't remember.
Oh, it is. I'm gonna have to Google that and find out what that is. Argos, yes.
Damn it.
Renault concept car from the 90s. Predates the Renault Spider.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a Bauhaus inspired design.
Yes.
Interesting. Have a look at some of these if you get a chance. I will.
There we go. That was the quiz. Well done.
Yeah.
You scored 2 less than what the full score was. I can't remember how many there were.
What did Alex score on hers?
we got basically halfway through, and then she cottoned on that they were all chickens.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So she kind of just won. Oh, don't press that.
So anyone else that comes on after me, if you just answer chicken to everything.
So, because she said something about the Renault 5, my question is, the new Renault 5, opinions, why pick old car names for new cars?
Well, the 5, actually, I don't have as much of a bugbear with. I mean, yeah, I would prefer an older one. I actually grew up with the Supersank, the Mark II Renault 5. My dad had 2 1986 models, the base model 956cc engine with a 4-speed gearbox. He also had a couple of 1390cc Campus Primas that were the run-out models.
Okay.
So they ditched the 1397 and gone to the 1390 with fuel injection.
Okay.
Sold them dirt cheap. They were like, if you bought one, went back when we used to have one new registration a year.
Oh yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, if you wanted one for August, it was $6,000, but if you wanted to buy one in July, they were 5,555.
Ah.
And they used to do this promotion, but they were great cars because they weighed about as much as a packet of crisp. They were actually really nippy, and Renault said they only had 60 horsepower, even though the 1.4 energy 1390cc Clio had 80 horsepower. So whether Renault were playing it down, but those cars were pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I myself had a 1988 F-registered Renault 5 TL 1108cc. That was the
1108. Don't forget the 8.
Yeah, the old Cléon font engines. And that one had the optional 5-speed gearbox.
Oof.
I had it a year, replaced nearly every moving part on that car before trading it in for a brand new Clio. But yeah, so I've always liked the Renault 5. I'd love another one. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying the new one. They're saying great looking car. When's the petrol coming?
Yes, yeah, I can imagine because the original petrol ones, they like the GT turbos and stuff.
Yeah,
they're insane prices nowadays.
They are now. I mean, even I think pick of the bunch could be the the Monacos. They're going for big money. Yeah. So Renault had the GT turbo in the UK, which were the hot one.
Yeah.
In some countries, they had a GTE, and I only learned this a few years ago. They use the 1721cc F-Series engine, but they look like a GT turbo. And that 1721, in fact, the 1397s as well, found their way into some Volvos.
Okay.
The 1721, you get that in the things like the Volvo 480 with the pop-up lights.
Yeah.
And they did a turbo version. So back in the day, you used to get like max-powered Renault 5 GT turbos that had 1721 turbo engines dropped to them. Complete madness at the time, but yeah, they were bonkers. But a Monaco with a manual gearbox and a 1721 engine, that'd be a cracking car. But most of them are autos, 3-speed auto with a 1397 engine.
Okay, are they 3-door then? Or the
3-door only for the Monaco, which is strange because it was a luxury flagship with the leather and the suit carrier under the parcel shelf and remote central locking and power steering. You know, back in the 80s, small cars didn't have that stuff.
No, they didn't. You had to buy a bigger car to get toys.
But the Monaco and the GTX both had the 1721. GTX were 3 or 5-door, but you could spot them with the full colour coding and the side skirts. So they were nice cars. Back in the day, the GTX were like a Monaco with a velour interior.
Okay,
basically. Okay. But yeah, they were way above anything we had. We only had basic models. I mean, my TL were probably the highest spec we had in the family, and that didn't even have centre dash air vents or a temperature gauge. It had a fuel gauge and a speedo. Didn't have a glove box lid. but it did have a passenger side door pocket and an analog clock. if I wanted an intermittent wipe, I had to go up a model. But this is what cars used to be like.
It was.
You know,
It was.
We take for granted, don't we now?
Yeah.
But-
Everything nowadays is like, well, it's got sat nav, it's got flipping
Electric
Google or
windows
Apple
and-
Play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Electric windows all round.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
just in
my
front.
Renault 5 had pop-out rear windows. I mean, that was pure decadence.
I
you know?
liked my pop-out rear windows. My ZR had pop-out rear windows.
Yeah.
There's nothing more satisfying than that click,
Yeah.
because you know it's not broken.
But in an era where aircon's pretty much standard
Yeah.
on all cars, you know. I mean, when I used to admin Fiat 500 Owners Club UK, we used to get people coming on, new drivers. You know, they had a 69 horsepower Fiat 500 and complained that they were too slow. And then the first thing they all want to know is, how do I play music through my phone? You know, that's the only thing that a lot of people cared about. It's a different time.
It's kind of what adverts are like nowadays. Nobody advertises the car as being dynamic anymore.
No.
They might say dynamic, but they never show you it being dynamic because they're not allowed to.
Yeah, which is the reason why we don't like modern cars.
Yeah.
Because they're just big, hefty. I mean, I've got a Mark 4 Megane, and it's 300 kilos heavier than my Mark 1.
That's quite a chunk.
300, and it makes a real difference.
Mm.
It really does. But going back to the new Renault 5 that when it comes, I mean, I think it's a good-looking car.
Yeah.
I think it'll be bigger than what we think it's going to be, because cars always are now.
Bigger as in size.
It'll
Yeah.
dwarf. I mean, you put it near an original or even a Mark II, and it'll dwarf it.
You
I'm
better be able to
certain of.
put one in boot.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously having to disguise it, because I think all models are coming with something like 18-inch wheels as standard. So that tells you how big this car is, that they've got to put big tires, wheels and tires on it.
Yeah.
It'll probably be quite heavy as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Renault aren't messing around. They're putting a multi-link rear suspension on.
Okay.
So they're investing big in this car. I think there's a lot of buzz around it, and there has been since the reveal. I think if Renault play the cards right, if they price it right and they market it right, I think it'll be as successful as the Fiat 500 and the Mini have been.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's what I want to happen.
Let's put rest at range, Renault. What the hell are you playing? I mean, Renault Scenic. It's an SUV.
Right.
They've done the same as Ford with the Puma and the Capri, which you'll have seen online of late, how much hatred they're getting over that.
Yeah.
They've taken an icon and, well, enough said about that. But the Scenic, I mean, all right, MPVs, not the most exciting of cars, but back in the day, MPVs were taking over the world in the same way as SUVs are now.
Yeah.
But they were way more innovative. They had the original Scenic had individual rear seats that you could have seemingly limitless combinations, you know, and tray tables and all kinds of things. You could even get a fridge that put in place of the middle seat.
Yeah.
You know, there were fantastically innovative cars, and at least you could get excited about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all these SUVs, and Renault they've done it with the Espace, which isn't on sale anymore in the UK anyway. But the Scenic, the new Scenic, is an SUV, and the advert alone, it says the new Scenic, everything's different except the name. Well, it's not a blooming Scenic then, is it?
There seem to be a lot of companies doing that, because in the Peugeot 3008, that was more of like a people carrier to start with.
Well, some of the new Renaults do look like Peugeot. It's been remarked upon. The Renault Rafale, was it, or something that they teased us with? I mean, how many SUVs do you need in the range? Every car's just been reborn as an SUV, and the ones that aren't SUVs, that are just conventional EVs, are all, when you get close to them, they're all as big as an SUV anyway.
Yeah. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe all cars that would have been saloon hatchback in the States, they're all going to be SUV versions.
They already are.
And then above the SUV versions, you're going to have like Bigfoot.
At least like a Bigfoot in a cool 80s way, it'd be fun,
Yeah,
though,
but it wouldn't
wouldn't
be like that though, would it?
I mean, I mean, my wife's prime example. I want to be high up. You hear it a lot from women, seemingly, that they want to be high up. And the industry has suddenly decided that we all want SUVs. So they've taken away any consumer choice, and now all we have is SUVs.
Yeah.
And they're becoming more and more a hybrid or electric, or if they do have petrol engines, you can either have a fire-breathing 300 horsepower one, or you can have a 1 litre turbo.
Yeah,
There's
and that's
nothing
it.
in between. It's become a real bugbear, and a big part of the reason why I'm really not as into modern cars as I used to be. I used to always like the latest things, and then I just realised one day that the cars that they're producing now just don't appeal anymore.
Yeah, because they're not built in the same way, are they? They're built as a commodity nowadays.
Well, exactly.
There's no true heart in them anymore. That's what I think.
But some are still doing it. I mean, I have very recently, and I've not edited this video yet, but I've had a Mazda out recently with their Skyactiv engine, which is a normally aspirated engine, and it was better on fuel than the small turbo engine in my car, and it had the performance, and it didn't feel strangled when you revved it, and it had enough capacity that it had low end torque. It never felt there were no potential for it to feel off boost because there's no turbo.
There's no boost.
If Mazda can do it, why can't anybody else?
Yeah, they've been doing it a while. Because my mate's got a Mazda 2 that's got that Skyactiv on it.
Yeah,
and that felt nippier than the Ford I had at the time. But it shouldn't have done because it weren't as quick apparently, but it just felt that way.
Yeah,
It certainly revved harder. I'm sure it did.
yeah.
Let's have a look at some more comments before we start winding up. Mark, you mentioned the fuel pump shut off on the Fiat 500. I've reset a few of those at work. There's a sequence involving a little dance with the pedals, an indicator stalk or something.
Yeah, there's something that when my wife had the collision, I weren't there, and obviously probably didn't occur to her to Google it.
Yeah,
but there is a
reset it.
Yeah, see, I was thinking when I arrived, I was looking under bonnet because on my 90s car,
that's very.
It's basically like it feels a bit like an old jam jar top where you can pop it.
Yeah.
And what would happen is in an impact that'd pop and shut everything off, and to reset it, you just
push it back down again.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously modern car.
They have to be complicated, don't they?
See, we've got to Pingu Concorde here as well.
Yeah. I am bum swizzled, beard and no space helmets.
Okay, I'm completely perplexed, but
I'm glad I can't see their helmets. I usually have a helmet in here. It's not here at the moment. Engine jam is better than gunge. This is true, Pingu. This is true. Never heard of a Docker. She's never been to docks then, has she?
Yeah. Dacia Docker, that's the... I think that's like a bit of a minivan type, like small...
Yeah,
a bit like a Kangoo, actually.
Yeah, but more boxy.
Yeah,
less car, more van.
Yeah.
Simone is here. Hang on, Simone is here. She says hello.
Who else have we got? Matthew Harrison, another name I've seen in chats before.
That's Stickman.
Ah, okay.
He likes confusing people by going on YouTube.
Doesn't he sometimes go as Matthew _ as well? Yes.
He's got a million different names.
See, if people just use the names, it'd make things so much easier.
Oh, Alex said, yeah, it would make it, as long as it weren't Simon, because then we'd have another Simon in there. I had a Renault 5 once. It had a max power looking body kit on it. That sounds like a GT.
Yeah, there were a few. I mean, to be honest, you remember the Peugeot 205 that did a kit, which again I've just had brain freeze and it's completely gone out of my head. But there was a company that did body kit.
Oh, you were like right, chunky.
Yeah, but it was more dimmer.
Yeah, that's it.
And they did one for the Renault 5 and for the Mark 1 Clio, but they were more than just a kit. They were
proper tuning, weren't
they?
I
mean, I think they actually had an agent in the UK that actually did these sort of with Peugeot's corporation. You know, they were a serious piece of kit. They weren't just some glass fibre kit that you bought out of a magazine.
The kind of thing that you kind of do want to find in a shed, but also you'd probably wish that it were an original one without all.
To be honest, an original dimmer 205, I imagine you probably wouldn't be paying much less than you would for a T16.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy at Peugeot Sport UK Club, I think it was. Anyway, one of these clubs, and he was saying the price of a dimmer now is ridiculous.
I don't know. Electric car are being named wrong. For instance, the Honda E should be the E Honda. It should be. Ford should be the crap E.
Oh yeah, definitely targeting that one. That's sticking.
Jim Zob's garage. I found an abandoned Renault 25 Monaco
Oh, nice.
at a feed supplies in the northwest many years ago. It's the only one I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're pretty scarce. You don't see them often now. In fact, there's a guy I know through Owners Club who's actually got a Renault 25 limousine.
All right. Okay.
When I say limousine, it's basically a slightly longer wheelbase. It's not, the back doors are longer.
Like the 75 limousine thing.
In fact, I don't think he's been able to get a headliner for it because, it's, but yeah, there were a 25 limousine. So whether that were the kind of thing you normally ever saw in Paris, I don't know.
I bet there were loads of them. I've noticed more and more people seem to be unable to see over the steering wheel. Controversial, but should there be a limit to the size of vehicles people are permitted to drive?
I agree with that. If you see what I have to contend with on school run, you would definitely know where I'm coming from. It's just, and I'm talking big X5s and things like that. Yeah,
little people driving them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like kids,
and none of them seem to be able to park them as well. They seem to be 18 inches away from curb, abandoned on corner of a junction, or blocking somebody's driveway. But it does seem to give you entitlement that when local residents ask you to move your vehicle so they can get out to work, that you can basically tell them to stuff it. Well, that's what it appears from what I've seen anyway.
Talking of parking away from curb, there's a few times my dad parks outside his house on this little lay-by bit. And as I'm getting out of the car, I pretend that I'm on phone to a taxi company ordering a taxi to get to pavement. I drove a Perodua Nipper, and it was not suitable for someone my height. So obviously the size of the vehicle should work both ways. Yeah, that's a good point, Matt, because like if you were going to do that, what would you be allowed to drive?
It would struggle.
It would struggle with anything.
A friend of mine had a transit van, and he knew a guy that were well over 6 foot, and apparently he had to modify the seat frame so they were pretty much sat on floor. And that were to drive a transit van. So I don't know, maybe something with a Webasto sunroof. That's all I can think.
So like one of the original Fiat 500s.
Yeah. Actually, that wasn't out of decadence, and I imagine it was the same with 2CV. I think it was just that at the time there was a shortage of steel, and it was costly, so manufacturers put fabric roofs on. And if you get the earlier Fiat 500s, rather than the canvas roof being just over the front, it was full length.
The whole thing.
And same with the 2CV. I mean, the very early 2CVs, even the boot lid was canvas.
Oh, yeah. Like Mr. Hubnuts is ish, isn't it? That's like the back window and the roof, isn't it?
I think his is a later one, isn't it?
Yeah. LA.
I've actually drove a 2CV earlier this year.
Did you like it?
It was fun. It was. I mean,
would you buy one? I think's the question.
As I say, I've driven trucks with 16 forward gears, manual gears.
Yeah.
I've driven some pretty weird and wonderful things over the years. And the 2CV, the first half an hour were the most alien experience. And the strange thing is most people, your first experience of driving a strange car would probably be in somewhere a bit familiar.
Yeah.
My first experience, I was going over Buttertubs Pass.
Right.
And it was starting to snow. There were sheep wandering about in the middle of the road. In a car where you look at the tubing around, because obviously you can see all the innards of it when you sat in it. And it's quite a thin wall tube. You don't want to have a crash in a 2CV. No. So going over the edge of a pass like that wouldn't be much fun.
No.
And the real strange thing is, by the design of the suspension, most cars, when you go a bit faster, the steering kind of gets a bit light. But when you go quick into a bend in a 2CV, the steering becomes heavier.
All right, okay.
It's quite a strange. But because they've got such a small amount of power, I mean, it had a 4-speed gearbox because in fact, apparently it was supposed to be a 3-speed.
All right,
okay.
And
I think the kind of designers turned around to management and said that no, it's an overdrive or it's got a crawler gear or something. But basically, a 2CV will pretty much do 30 or 40 mile an hour in first gear.
Right. Okay.
Fourth gear is like literally when you do get onto a road where you can travel at national speed limit.
Yeah. So you're not going to want to speed up or slow down.
No, you can do most things in the first 3 gears in a 2CV.
Yeah.
So we came to this like hairpin bend, and in second gear, And me and Ben, who were the chap who owned the car, were both former senior observers with Institute of Advanced Motorists. So, we're both responsible drivers. And he's basically saying you're going to have to floor it round this bend, otherwise we're not going to get up it. So everything that you've, as an experienced driver, instinctive, you've kind of got to throw out the window and pretty much just drive it everywhere like you stole it. So I'm foot to the floor, driving the steering wheel around this bend, and it kind of got around this bend, and then it just started to bog down. And there's no synchro on first gear,
so you weren't going unless you stopped,
or unless you're quick at double clutching, and so it was quite an experience. But after about 30 minutes or so, I started to really feel at home with it, and we were flying around these country lanes in this 2CV, and we were actually catching up with one of these all singing, all dance. I think it was a Ford Cougar.
All right, okay.
We got held up behind the blooming Ford Cougar in a 2CV.
See, I quite fancy driving a 2CV that's got a BMW motorbike engine in it.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. I want to go in a Lone Max after driving. Obviously, the Lone Max, you had the 223 and 224. The 223 being the 3-wheel variant. But yeah, I'd love to have a go in one. In fact, Katie mentioned when she's got one, and she did mention I might be when it's on the road, I might get a go in that.
That'd be a good thing to have a go in. It'd be good YouTube.
I mean, I've like I say, I've had some powerful vehicles, and I've just had that Corvette. 6.2 litre small block V8, 7th generation Corvette. I mean, it's 170 odd mile an hour car.
Yeah.
But likewise, when Ian Seabrook says power less is more, he's onto something, because when you've got a car that you kind of have to
work to keep going,
and like I said, cars were a lot lighter back then. So if you get something that hasn't got a lot of power but it's lightweight, it can be quite entertaining.
And that's the Lotus way of doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my 97 Megane Coupe, it's not the legendary F7R, the Clear Williams engine. I have driven one of those. Yeah. But mine's got the base engine for the coupe, which was a 90 horsepower, 8-valve 1.6. I mean, young'uns, when they see it at shows, they look under bonnet and they're like, where's the turbo? So it's not a powerful car, but by necessity, it weighs, I think, 1050 kilos curb weight. And even though it's the engine that's supposed to be more for mid-range torque, it still goes to 6,000 revs and peak torques at 4,000. So the more you kind of ring it out, the more it goes. And when you're at motorway speeds, it's coming into that torque band. So it feels quicker sometimes when you get 70 mile an hour than it does accelerating at, say, 50. But you get it on a twisty B road because it's quite light, and because having 300 horsepower doesn't really make a lot of difference at those speeds. It'll actually show a clean pair of heels to cars with quite a lot more power when you get on the right sort of road. But you try and go up a dual carriageway or up a hill with 4 people and a full tank of petrol, and it starts to feel a little bit like it's struggling.
That's kind of where I like the ZS, because the ZS it's about 50 mile an hour in top, where you just get into the turbo. So on motorways, you can easily out-accelerate a lot of things from your roadworks 50 mile an hour limit to 70.
Actually, my Mark II Laguna were brilliant, because I had a 1.9 litre common rail diesel. It sounded really refined, actually. A few years later, I had the Octavia VRS with the diesel, 180 horsepower. And even though it had more power, it didn't feel as potent. It didn't have that rush. Where my common rail diesel that I had in the Renault was way more refined in terms of the sound, but it was old school in the way it delivered its power. So you pull out of a junction in second at a roundabout, and you think, can I roll onto this one? And you pull out, and then cars would be coming round, and you'd be praying that it had come on boost, because there'd been nothing. But then when it came on boost, it was gone. It was gone.
That sounds like the L series, because the L series literally sounds like a tractor. And I think mine sounds industrial. And Rob says, "Oh, Penny's L series sounds more like a tractor than that." And I'm like, "Crikey, that must be awful."
But no, I mean, as I say, the Renault Common Rail, there were people who didn't know used to get out of it and think it were a petrol.
That's
So
quite an impressive.
Yeah,
thought, really.
for a car. I mean, I'm going back. We're 2005, so we're going back a while now. But I mean, that car was amazing. It had keyless entry. It were privileged, so it were one model off top of the range.
Yeah.
But it had keyless entry, dual zone climate, cruise control, had cabas audio system with a CD changer in dash, and even had roller blind as built into the door cards and into the parcel shelf. So rather than being added on, there was actually inside the.
You could just pull them up.
Yeah, and Xenon headlamps that when you went on a faster road, they used to rise. And then when you were sort of slowing down into a 30 zone, they used to dip
again.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, it were credit the technology that was on them, and dimming rear view mirror, and 10 years later, BMW were charging you extra for things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, someone's made an appearance again. Look, hello. Doesn't look sure.
You're never sure, are you, Jack? He's like, hang on, my chair's missing.
Camera shy. Look, looking like he wants to come up. Come on then, I know you're going to molt all over me, but viewers want to see you. No?
You're giving up, Jack. Well, on that bombshell, we shall say thank you for joining me, Mark. It's been a pleasure. We should do it again one day.
Been a lot of fun.
Yes, and I need to drive your cars.
Yeah, we'll have to arrange that.
Yes.
A few people have actually asked me about the Megane Coupe, so yeah. Need to, I've been trying to work through a few issues of late, which seem to have self-healed, which is both a blessing and a curse, because you're never sure.
You never know what was wrong with them.
Yeah.
Come on,
Can you see any here, look?
Here he is.
Oh, there we go.
Ugh.
Made you wait till the end, look.
Ta-da. There you go, Jack. Look, you're on TV.
Nope, having none of it.
He's like, there's something down there and it's weird. Yeah, there's nothing worse than having an intermittent problem that fixes itself, because then you're never sure when it's going to happen again. It's true. Yeah, it's true, Jack. So thank you for watching, everybody. Don't forget to click like, leave a comment, subscribe to Mark on Motor, and if you're not already, which I'll be surprised if you're not already, because we told you maybe about an hour and 10 minutes ago to subscribe. So if they've not done that by now, awful behaviour. And I shall catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Has it finished?